I was in India. I'd been called to India in this amazing golden dream. I never had that before in my life. I literally had a dream and it was all gold. This teacher came and he said, "Come to me, come to me."
Halla Ayla is an Iraqi-born Arab American author, artist, teacher, and spiritual counselor. Creator of the Wisdom Book and the Rainbows Method, she guides people to remember who they are, reclaim their power, and transform through consciousness and creativity. Sounds like you do some really powerful work in this world. Give us a little background on what you're up to.
I had reached, in my mind, a complete dead end. That moment was so much where my life was. It was so ugly and dark. And I was like, oh my God. And I have no clue how to get out. No matter what we lay on, our essence, the purity of who we are, our soul, remains solid, remains the same, remains beautiful, remains this gorgeous rainbow.
What a wonderful metaphor.
The number one purpose that every human being on this planet has is to learn to have fun. How about that for a purpose in life?
Hello and welcome to Radical TV. I am Shawna Smith. Joining me here today is Halla Ayla. She is an Iraqi-born Arab American author, artist, teacher, and spiritual counselor. She's the creator of the Wisdom Oracle deck of 50 Timeless Truths and the #1 international best-selling author of the Wisdom Book, Guidance from the Ancients and its companion Wisdom Journal. Her works weave together decades of devotion to healing, personal transformation, mysticism, and the evolution of consciousness. Halla, hello.
Hi, Shawna.
Hello. This is such a great chance to get to meet with you and chat with you because it sounds like you do some really powerful work in this world. Give us a little background on what you're up to.
What I'm up to right now is I'm developing this new workshop, seminar, online seminar, and methodology that brings together 35 to 40 years of research in human development and human psychology, spirituality, metaphysics mainly, and putting it all together in a way, in an 8-step process that takes someone from A to Z in the most elegant way to transform their lives without having to spend years in therapy, without having to do years of processing. And it's just really very much future oriented, working with the future rather than with the past. We will tap into the past, but learning how to process reality in a way that doesn't take long because we don't have much time. And so this is a sort of a synthesis of everything that I've have done and learned and studied and applied. And I continue to apply the method on myself. You know, we're all works in progress. I use it myself and I encourage everyone to continue growing. And this is part of my contribution at this point in my life from the years I have dedicated to the subject of consciousness and how do we evolve our consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And you've developed a unique magic method. Tell us about that, what it's called, and I know it's an acronym, and walk us through the steps as well.
So the unique magic method is what I mentioned, the Rainbows method of a swift transformation or radical transformation. Doesn't matter. It's going to be transformative. And it is, it's actually a 7-step process, but I call it the Rainbows because I think there's not one rainbow. We have multiple rainbows that we go through in life. I want people to understand that, you know, growth is a spiral. We're going to go from one beautiful growth to another, to another, to another. It's a never-ending process. So the acronym Rainbows is the first one, I think, is probably the most important and is really about remembering who we are. And that is the most important. And that is the most close to everyone's heart, because once we get in touch with ourselves as spiritual beings, that we are part of source, that we are not just this physical body or this physical reality. We're just so much more. And if we can remember that, because we all have that knowing inside of us, we just have forgotten it. And so this is to remind everybody that we have it all. We are God beings incarnate as physical beings to learn the lessons we've come to learn. But to remember that gives us the courage and gives us the bigger picture so that we can step into what we need to step in to resolve the conditioning of our lives and the issues that we have to face. The Rainbows Method is really taking people that are on at a crossroads in their life, and humanity in its entirety right now is at a crossroads. And what I mean by crossroads is this is spiritual. This is a moment of, spirituality is calling us, our inner wisdom is calling us to step into more of who we really are. That's why the remembrance part is so important. But then from remembering, you go into acknowledging where you're at, taking responsibility for where you're at in your life, that it didn't happen to you. What happened in our lives doesn't happen to us, but it happens for us and through us. And so that acknowledgement is a second step. Now, remember, each one of these steps are going to be like a 3-hour discussion. So I'm just going very briefly on them. And then there's the integration. And by integration, I mean different to what people understand by integration. By integration, I mean the ownership of every aspect of our being, to really integrate, bring together as one each aspect. So it could be, the child that has experienced a lot of shame, the adolescent that is riddled with embarrassment, humiliation, guilt. So the embracing, understanding the process of our life as, from the adult place, and saying, everyone here belongs to me. Owning that, claiming yourself in a way, so that integrating all parts of yourself. So I feel that is super important. And then once you kind of get to a place of like, I will bring that sort of lost part of myself or denied part of myself into the wholeness of my being. Then I can start to nurture myself. I start the process of loving who I am, despite what has happened, despite the many mistakes what we all make in life. But you start to go, okay, now I'm going to love who I am, have compassion for my process, not just for people out there in the world, have compassion for me and nurture that self into well-being. And from there, you break through. The B is for breaking through your old limitations, your old belief systems, your old patterns of behavior that we tend to have acquired from years and years of conditioning, just taking in whatever society or schools or family has told us as truth, and starting to question that, but literally breaking free from the prisons that we have put ourselves into. And so from there, you just start to open up. Once you realize that you are the creator of all of it, then you start to open up to your creativity. You no longer feel the need to carry the shame, the guilt. You start to feel enough self-love, enough self-honoring, self-valuing, so that you can start to express yourself creatively, which everybody wants to express themselves creatively in life. And when you open up to that, brings so much joy. So we go into that opening. And then the last two is wholeness and wisdom. Is like, really, I explain what wisdom is and how important it is to step into the wise one within us, because we all have a wise one, every single one of us. We just don't refer to it that often because we forget that we don't have to be old to be wise. And a lot of people that are old are actually not very wise anyway, but that we can step into our wholeness and wisdom at any age. And then the S, the rainbows, is really a return to self. And by self is the true self, starting to really open up to the true self. Who are you beneath the world's disguises, beneath all the layers of conditioning, of hypnosis that we all go through in life sometimes? So that's the rainbows method. And it's specifically designed for people that have, that are really deciding that their past, they want to move past their past. They want to really step into a whole other version of themselves. They know they can do it, but they just don't know how. And so this method takes them step by step through that process.
That is a beautiful method. Take us to the point where you discovered this. Were you at a low point in your life when you discovered this, and what was happening when you realized the way that was going in your life wasn't going to work?
If I tell you this story, a lot of people don't believe it, but it's a real true story. I was in India. I'd been called to India in this amazing golden dream. I never had that before in my life. I literally had a dream and it was all gold. It was literally like everything was gold. And in there, a teacher came, which I was familiar with. This teacher came and he said, come to me, come to me. And I was like, yeah, right. But it was so compelling. I picked up, I left my kids with my ex-husband. I took a risk and I just got on a plane and I left to India. And a few days into my retreat there, it was a life-changing process being in India with this particular teacher. But what really shifted me on a soul level was I was a part of a painting class. And it was a week-long painting class. So it wasn't like a day. It was a week long. And we were only given one piece of paper to paint on the whole week, one piece of paper. And I was like, really? One piece of paper? Okay. They gave us two kinds of paintings. They gave us an ink pen, ink pens, all colors, and they gave us watercolors. We had to start with the ink and then layer and layer the watercolors. The watercolors would get washed out and you had to keep washing and putting. And anyway, so I did that. And after a while, I was just like, my God, what else can I put and remove and put and remove? And got to a point where the painting was so disgusting, and I had done it so many times. I was so fed up of like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I took my paintbrush and I just painted over the whole thing. It was a huge piece of paper too. And I just furious at this thing, just painted all over, and it went a pukey, disgusting green, like the whole thing. Everything went. And there was nowhere to go from there. Like I had already taken it out, put it in, taken it out. I was like, I can't do anymore. I had reached in my mind a complete dead end. I had reached where, to me, that moment was so much where my life was. I was like, oh my God, this is my life. I have messed up so badly. I have reached like the worst of situations and I have no clue how to get out. I have no clue how to get out of this damn painting, let alone my life, which this completely reflected to me at that moment. And I sat and I just cried and cried. I was like, God damn, I cannot believe I've reached this stage in my life. I should be further along, but no, I was like looking straight at my life. So there comes a teacher. She sits down. She doesn't even talk to me. She just looks at the bucket. She says, clean the bucket, clean the bucket, clean the brushes, come back. So I go do that. And I was like, what the heck? What's the point? What's the point? Clean the brushes? What the brush is going to do? Come back, clean bucket, clean water, clean brushes, clean sponges. She sits there, very Zen teacher. She's like very calm, to the opposite of me, very, very calm. And she takes a sponge, she squeezes the water out, and with one stroke of a hand. Underneath that stroke was this incredible rainbow. And I couldn't believe it because everything was so ugly and dark. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I had completely forgotten that the essence, that I had forgotten what I had put in initially. And at that moment, it was so powerful that she cried, I cried. We were at that point sobbing because we realized that's the nature of reality. That was the nature of my reality at that moment. But it was such a metaphor for no matter what we lay on, our essence, the purity of who we are, our soul, remains solid, remains the same, remains beautiful, remains this gorgeous rainbow. Our colors are never, never faded in essence. So that hit me in a big way because, it was so visceral, it was so real. And in many ways, it's kind of began my journey. It didn't end my journey, but it began my journey to discover the rainbow, and the treasures that rainbows end. And that was just recently when I decided what to do with the class. I decided, hey, this is a beautiful method, and I know I can teach it. I know I can help people move through all the steps to get to the true self, which is really the treasure at rainbow's end. But that's where it came from.
That is a beautiful, beautiful moment, and what a wonderful metaphor.
Yeah,
that you locked into. When you go back to that lowest point in your life, what did it feel like in your body?
Well, I don't know if that was the lowest point in my life, but it's certainly despair. It was, I mean, I had to get to that point. I had some really very horrible things happen, like really, really horrible. And I'm laughing about it. I was not laughing about it then. I felt utter hopelessness and utter despair and utter exactly what that pain is. Like I thought there was no way out. But in reality, I was at a crossroads. I was like, you want to continue this path? Do you want to continue down the same way, doing the same way, things the same way, expecting people to change, and yet you're not changing yourself? What is this? Or are you going to start to really take your life and be more responsible? And it's all at the end of the day, R is also for responsibility and taking responsibility for doing things in a different way. And, sometimes I'm very rebellious about taking responsibility because, it's work. You can't blame. You can't like point a finger like everybody's doing these days. But it's like point over there. It's over there. They're doing it. They're doing it.
Yeah.
So I did that. Not to say I didn't do it. I tried. It didn't really work, and in the end, I had to do the heavy lifting myself so that my life would change. So
Yeah. How quickly did you start seeing results when you decided enough was enough?
I mean, at one point, I had huge results because I think when I realized that I actually had a choice in my life, I was very young, I was in my early 20s, we're talking, good 40 years ago when all this stuff wasn't as popular as it is right now, when, it was all kind of new. And for me, it was like, wow, this stuff is really kind of giving me a lot of hope and opening up doors for me. Some things happened faster than others, but certainly I felt empowered to take more charge of my life. But, it depends what area. I'm still working on certain areas, and I've got other areas more, done. So, work in progress.
Yeah, because as you said, we're constantly changing. If someone is listening right now and wants to start implementing your method, what is the very first thing they should do today?
They could send me an email. That's the first thing. Yahal, YAHAL 23 @yahoo.com. And I will let them know I'm going to be doing a webinar to explain this process sometime in the next few months. And then I'll be launching this 7-week program. And so I welcome anyone that wants to have a swift but concrete transformation to join.
What would you say is the biggest lie that your target audience has been told about this industry and or your topic, and that you've discovered is completely false?
I think one of the biggest lies is that you are God. No, we're not God. We're a part of God. You're a tiny little piece. We are not God, because if you think you're God and you're behaving despicably, or you're completely stuck in a corner and can't figure your life out, then what kind of God are you? No, we're not gods. People go like, oh, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God. That's a lie. We're part of God. God is inside of us. Yes, that. But well, you certainly aren't God.
Mm-hmm.
Not my God, anyway. You can be your God, though. That is big. I think that was for a while they did, I'm God, and you go out to the beach and scream, I am God, I am God. Yeah, I think that really got to a lot of people's heads.
What's the real cost when people believe that lie?
They don't take full responsibility because they think that everything's going to happen to them. And, if you're God, you're pretty powerful. And the expectation and you don't feel like you're responsible. The level of responsibility diminishes. And so I think that, responsibility is the ticket to freedom and to ticket to having more choices in our life. And I think that is, that could be another lie, that, you don't necessarily have to, you can just receive life, or you can just, it'll happen anyway. Don't program, don't think about it. That's another kind of, I don't call it a lie. Lie is a big word, but it's kind of a misguided. There's a lot of misguidance, you say,
Mm-hmm.
misguidance in the spirituality or in this field. And that's why I wrote this book of timeless truths to help navigate today's world. And it's full of wisdom from the ancients and from like the sages to kind of course correct some of, or reposition the understanding in a slightly different way.
Hold your book up again, and I think you said you had a workbook that goes along with it.
So this is the wisdom book, and it's all so it has each page. Let's see, each page has a piece of art that I did, and then it has an explanation. This one is about humility. This one is about belief precedes reality, and explains how that is. So this one's about mastery. So it has a whole bunch. It has about 52 topics, and they're really cool topics. One page each. So one of them that we were discussing earlier was the valued self. And that one is probably one of the most important. Having it all. What is true wealth? Your higher self and love. Chaos, the power of imagination. So each one is just one page. So you don't have to read a whole book on this.
Oh.
Yeah, which is really, I tell you, it's really cool. And then this is the journal that actually goes with it. And this one has questions. So, how gratitude, resonance, fear, and courage. So ask you sort of thought-provoking questions so that
Mm-hmm.
you can stir some rethinking of things. And then here's the deck. Here's the beautiful wisdom deck. And I love to show it from inside because it's this beautiful ankh and this image I took in Dandara temple in Egypt, the goddess temple Hathor in Egypt.
Wow.
Voila.
And show us the cards because they're stunning.
So this is the deck, and has a beautiful gold inlay
Yeah.
on the side, and then let's say this one's on soulmates,
Mm.
and let's see, this one is on life purpose. So you can see art, and then you don't have to. So I've just submitted a proposal to Hair House with the book, So the book and the cards will be all in one, but otherwise they're all the description is right here. So you don't have to revert to a book. So that's it. And then this is our mascot, the little wise owl, Lulu.
Oh, cute.
That was fun. I did all the art during COVID. So I did a big show in San Francisco called Spellbound, and I unspelled myself. Yeah. I realized spellbound meant, when you're bound by a spell. So I unbound myself and created these decks and books with the art and with the wisdom I have gleaned.
They're stunning and beautiful. I really brilliantly done, it looks like from here. Who are you called specifically to work with or to serve?
I like to work with younger women. Yeah, like 20, like a lot of late, my clients have been in the 28-year-old, but that they're kind of like they're waking up and they're realizing, life is not exactly the way they want it to be. But they don't have the technology, they don't have the inner wisdom. They haven't developed, they have the inner wisdom, but they don't have the techniques, the tools and techniques that a lot of us, can have used. I use a lot of techniques and tools. The books actually have 4 techniques. One to get rid of how to change your beliefs, which is probably the most important thing you'll ever do. How to get rid of your anger, which is another very important thing to do. And I have a couple of other ones. How to get into the subconscious and how to work with the beliefs there, which is really the way you have to do it. And then I have a very important other technique is how to forgive yourself and other people. And the last one is how to consciously create your reality. So very
Wow.
exciting. I mean,
Mm-hmm. And such an important time, to work with young women before they become mothers and to get those tools, such practical, really good, healthy information to use to live by, to live through.
absolutely. You know why? Because I like this age group because it cuts. Like if I had someone at 28, I had someone thankfully at 30, but at 20, even in my 20s to guide me, I would have made so many less mistakes. I would have had a lot less pain in my life because I had an understanding. I would have had help. I would have had, someone to show me the way. And so I'm trying to be of help to young women between 28 and really 48, because at 48, 50, also you are at a crossroads, and past 50, obviously, you're crossroads because your kids may have left the home. You may have, quit your old job. You must have left, maybe you've left your husband, something like that, or an old relationship. So now you're looking for what's the next step for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so this returns the client back to rediscovering their inner world, from being focused on the outer world to going, who am I inside this structure,
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's for women at a crossroads at any age, but I like to work with a younger woman.
Well, and you can help guide them through, some of the toughest times through life, with this information. When did you realize that your personal transformation needed to become a mission for you to help others?
I started teaching very early because when I lived in London for a long time. And part of the course, we're doing life skills course with this teacher, Frank Natali, who was one of my first teachers. And he had us, part of the curriculum was to teach the class. So I think at age 30, 31, I began teaching how to create results. I began teaching self-esteem classes, all the things I actually needed to learn.
Yeah.
I know what I needed to learn. I still need to learn. I mean, come on. I'm a human.
Yeah.
We're human. We're all trying to do better, trying to be better people. And so that's when I started. And then I liked it, but small groups. And then I started to teach when I moved to the US. I taught the Enneagram, which is one of my favorite wisdom teachings in the whole world. I think that cuts to the chase like nobody's business. It's such an important teaching. So I taught that for many, many years. I introduced it to the Middle East, hundreds of people there. And then and I've done soul signature readings. I've given tarot readings. I've really been in this world for a long time. When I added the art piece, which is what came later on in my life, then I was able to do the books and the decks that I had always dreamt of doing. But now I had a way to put art and teachings together, and that's when I did that. But yeah, I've been teaching for how old am I? 27 years. 37 years. Oh dear, I'm so older. So 37 years.
It's always good when we start to lose track, then, When someone goes through your complete method, what transformation can they expect?
I think probably what I would imagine, and if I were to do that class, what would happen to me is it would free me up. Like the junk that we carry, the weight, I would be freed from that, because I have realized it doesn't really belong with me, to me. I return it to whoever it belongs to. And then I will be, that's exactly what happened to me when I discovered my artistry and creativity, is when I got rid of the shame and the guilt and the levels of pain that I was carrying from childhood. And it was that freedom to explore. I had space now. All of a sudden, I wasn't so, bogged down, and it opened up my talents and abilities for me to see. They were always there. I just never saw them. So I think that freedom and the freedom to choose, the choice is so important. Choice is so important, that you need to make choices in life. We don't think we have to. We think, oh, well, life will just happen. Ta-da, we'll just walk along. No, you need to make choices in life. And these choices have to be empowered choices. You need to have power behind that. That's what they call intentionality. You're just making a choice. I'm choosing to be free. I'm choosing to live my life on my own terms. I'm choosing that. That moves us forward. So I'm hoping with those two things, and they're going to get a lot of other stuff, that they will start to take more responsibility to create the life of their dreams. And also I want people to know in this class that they can have it all. They can have it all. I'm working on it. I'm not there yet, but I know that I can have it all. So I'm working on my resistance, my belief system, and all of that. But we can have it all. This is something that God gave us. So take it. So it allows that as well. Then, as I said, lots of other things, but those are the gems.
And can you give us a specific example of a client that has gone through your program and you've seen the transformation? Can you share that with us?
Well, I won't give you a name, but I will tell you, the work is life-changing. I think when people realize that they can trust their own inner voice and intuition, because we're not taught to trust that voice, because sometimes it goes against the current. And so you kind of become a troublemaker. I was a troublemaker because I couldn't stand that current, but I didn't have the support. The support is really what my coaching work is really all about, is getting a level of like championing. I champion my client, who becomes a friend. Really, I don't like even the word client. I like, we're in this together. We're in the same boat. Her issues either are my issues or have been my issues. That's why I can speak to them honestly. But she had situations that, for me were like, get the hell out now. Just what are you doing? Get out. I was like just pushing her out of the door because she was being abused like really badly every day. And she had to show up at work and get this verbal abuse, which is worse sometimes than physical abuse because you feel like shit, and she was taking it. And I get the hell out of there. So I gave her that push out the door because she just needed someone to say, go, you'll be fine. We didn't know what was, I just knew she should not put up with this stuff. And so I gave her an understanding of what it is to value yourself enough to say, enough. I'm not going to take this. You have no right to talk to me like that. You have no right to diminish me like that. Who the hell do you think you are? Get out. I'm out of here. And sure enough, she got out. She got an amazing job after that. And she couldn't believe it because she started to respect herself and value herself. Everybody around her were like so nice and respectful. And her boss was like, oh my God, she's like, he likes me. He treats me so well. And it reflected back how, when she was denying her own value, when she was denying her own, esteem, she got it back. It came back at her. When she started to value herself, her life started to shift. And, slowly she started to live a life more in accordance with who she really was. So that was a huge shift that happened in just a few weeks.
Wow. Sometimes a person just needs that extra support and to hear it from somebody else, because we get so bogged down. And like you said, belief systems are huge as well. So what can people expect when they work with you?
They can expect I'm going to rock their world, rock their boat. And that is probably my area of expertise because sometimes we're so afraid to rock the boat, including me, of course. In certain areas, I'm afraid to rock the boat. But this is what my job is. I'm going to rock the boat. But I'm going to hold you accountable, and I'm going to hold you to a bigger version of yourself. So we're going to all fall in the water if necessary, but we're going to come out of that water. You're going to dust yourself off. You're going to clean up, get dry, and you're going to get on another boat because that boat, it was sinking anyway. So that's what I do, is just like I have this ability to move people out of stasis. You want the status quo, go somewhere else because I ain't going to help you. I'm not about that. I'm about really moving you in a direction that you really want to go, but are too scared to go on your own. And I will be there holding your hand until you can do it on your own. And then I set you free. I don't work with people for like years and years. I'm not a therapist. I'm much more of a, I don't know, life coach, champion. And I think that, and again, I come back to the valued self. I really, I emphasize the need to value ourselves as women. Even the most valued woman in the world just feels also at one point in certain areas devalued because we are devalued, and to stop buying that lie. We are not less valuable than anyone. And so, yeah, so give them that sense of their own value.
Mm-hmm. I love that you rock the boat. Because I've seen so many times over and over again, just, I don't know. Sometimes I think you got to say it like it is and the person has to move on, get out of what they're in, like you said, in that case, because you cannot heal when you're in an environment that continually knocks you down. And sometimes you have to make a big move like that. And so I love that you, I guess, just rock the boat, like you said, and call it like it is. That's really impressive.
I think rocking the boat is not easy. I mean, it's not faint-hearted.
No, not everybody. They're not all going to want to hear what you have to say, I'm guessing, but.
No, nobody wants to rock the boat and fall off and everything. But sometimes you have to. You have to rock it so hard so that you really create that shift. Now, sometimes you don't need to rock that boat so hard. Sometimes, just a little gentle, but you need to test your mettle. That's the end of the day. You need to test your mettle and you need to have courage. Courage is a super important ingredient and is often misunderstood. It's not about cowardice. It's not the opposite of cowardice. Courage is the choice to stop living a life that is not reflective of who you are. That's choice. And that is courage as well as choice. But that's courage. When you choose to stop living the life that is not you, doesn't reflect your strengths, your abilities, your gifts, your talents, your spiritual nature, you know? Your life has to be a good reflection, not, not an abused reflection or whatever, because it, other than, okay, if you're in Gaza right now, you have very little choice. But other than that, most people have a level of choice. I mean, I walked away from a marriage that, I was willing to walk away with literally the clothes on my back. That's where I had enough. I was like, I'm getting out of here. Do you think that wasn't rocking the boat? I rocked it so hard. I mean, I could have like landed in, God knows where, but I had to take that stand. And I think once we really do what is right for us, the universe is there holding its hand to help us out. It doesn't want us in this horrible, stuck, nasty, devaluing situation anyway, So get out. If you're not comfortable or happy where you are, get the F out. And
I
live,
love you.
be true to yourself, because you know what? Even in, here's another thing is this that I'm discovering in myself is like, even when the whole world is saying, go this way, this is such a great way, do this, but it's not right for me. I'm not that person. I'm not that group. It doesn't feel right to me. That doesn't make me bad or wrong or stupid because I didn't join. No, it's because for me, I like other things. But to get to that place, that takes courage. That takes really not being afraid to hurt people, although really you're not really hurting them. You're just saying no to them. And, if they get hurt, sorry, but, you're doing your thing. So that's the part, is getting to the place of knowing yourself enough to know what's right for you and what's true for you.
And is there a timeline or, a rough estimate on how long it takes? And I'm guessing everybody's different, but you said 7 weeks, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
It's a crash course. Because it's going to have you confront your issues head on.
Wow.
It's not going to assign blame. I mean, we'll blame the parents for a little bit. We'll blame society for a little bit, maybe Trump a little bit. But other than that, you got to get on with the show. And the show is take responsibility for what you've created, because that's your ticket out. You created it or allowed it, because you don't create everything, you allow things. And somehow in your system, there is a belief, a conditioning, a hypnotic state that you believe this. And from that belief, you created a reality. So we try to get into, okay, what are those? What is that conditioning that's holding you back? What is the part that says, yeah, but, yeah, it's for me, but, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but, where are your yeah, buts?
Yeah. Someone said to me, yeah, butts only come at Easter. So time to get rid of them.
They're there all the time, really. And you just have to recognize that, there's, it's a long story, but there is parts of us that really don't want us to move forward as well. There are some hurdles. And once you really realize no one's coming to save you, I'm not going to save you. No, I'm barely saving myself. So I'm not saving you. But you do the work will save you, because you have a soul, you have a higher self, and God is 100% on your side. And they all want us out of the muck into the beauty of our lives, so that we can really have, one of the things I teach, maybe I'm disclosing a lot, but one of the things I love, and for me was one of the most important teachings, is, people often ask, like, what is the purpose of my life? I want to know what the purpose of my life is. I wanted to know that forever. I still want to know that, even though I know it. I still want to know it, like, deeper, more. And the question is, what is the purpose of our life? The number one purpose that every human being on this planet has is to learn to have fun. How about that for a purpose in life? How about that? Learn hallelujah, man. That is like a real God moment. Learn to have fun, learn to enjoy your life, learn to do it your way, enjoy your way. I enjoy things now in my age, I would never dream of doing it in my 20s or 30s, and vice versa. I wouldn't dream of doing the things I did then now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really discovering what lights us up, what makes us happy, what makes us joyous. That is our purpose in life, to learn how to do that, to learn to apply that. Because of course, if you're God, imagine you're God for a second. Why would we want miserable load of people down there just flaming, feeling like shit all the time, which most people feel like shit all the time. You know what I mean, Shawna?
I
I
do.
mean, seriously, I know. I mean, I go into those slumps as well, for heaven's sakes, lots of times. And I have to remind myself, you're here to enjoy. Get up and do something fun. Go swim in your beautiful lagoon. Go, take your dog for a walk. Go play with your dog. Chase your dog. Do something fun. Because God would much rather see that than me, slumped over going, oh my goodness, So that is one of the most important things, to remember.
It's so true. It's so true. I've just been thinking about this lately. Just get up and go ride my horse. Go do the fun things I love. Do what I love. Yep.
Yeah, because
It's
that
that
lightens
simple.
the rest of it.
Yep. Yep.
You,
Exactly.
yeah, you're much more happy doing whatever else you have to do if you've just
Mhm.
ridden your horse.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, oh, I haven't seen him in 5 days. Well, that's silly. It's that simple. How can people get in touch with you and learn more?
Go buy my books on Amazon.
Yes.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I think my email is really a good way. I'll say that again. YAHAL, Yahal23 @yahoo.com is my email. And I have a website, hallaayla.com, and it has all the content about my soul signature readings. It'll soon have the rainbow method, but the books, everything I'm doing, and some art. I have an art website, but unfortunately not quite working yet. It's gone down for a minute.
Halla Ayla, a pleasure to chat with you here today on Radical TV. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you. Go ride your horse.
I'm on it. I'm on it.